welcome to the Code Clarity podcast. I'm Rena and I'm going to be talking to you today about how to make a complaint to the PMCPA if you are external non-company individual. So why are we talking about this? Well, because breaches of the ABPI code can sometimes be quite hard to rule on if there is a lack of evidence or if a very narrow allegation has been made. Now, our top tip would be if you suspect a code breach, firstly, always raise this with a relevant company. After that, you can escalate it to the PMCPA if there's been no action or communication. But what I would say is that if you raise it with a relevant company, you have a chance of the issue being resolved much more quickly than if you were to raise it with the PMCPA. But if you do escalate it to the PMCPA, they would anonymize all kind of dealings with the company and the case report. Your name would never be mentioned. And the other thing is that they would publish the outcome on their website. These two things wouldn't necessarily happen if you were to raise it with the relevant company. So if we look at how to make a complaint, on the PMCPA website, on their homepage, there is a drop-down menu under complaint procedure. And under there is a specific category, make a complaint. And their advice is summarized in just a few steps. And basically what they say is there is either a form that you can complete on the website, you can email them, you can write in, or you can call them. So there are 4 ways of lodging a complaint. The second thing that they talk about is asking you as a complainant to provide as much information as possible, because that obviously assists them with making a good ruling. The third thing that they say is that your email address is not mandatory. However, if you don't provide an email address, then it is impossible for them to contact you. And that means that you have no say in any comments or any possibility of appealing. The fourth thing, which I think is quite interesting, is that there's a mandatory field on the form on the website which asks, do you have any commercial, financial or other interest in this matter? And they're basically trying to ask whether you're an employee or an ex-employee. Now, those things, obviously, when you are to write or to phone or to email in, is not a mandatory piece. But if you are contactable, it may be something that the PMCPA would later contact you to find out. And that just helps them understand when it comes to their annual report on their own stats. They're not the best at categorizing complainants, but it does help them understand where you're coming from. So that's the PMCPA. In terms of my top 5 tips, if you are making a complaint, and this is important because we want to see an end to rubbish complaints. You know, the better the complaints are, the better the rulings are. And this means the more clarity that pharmaceutical companies have to actually improve on compliance. So this is important. Firstly, don't be anonymous. If you're anonymous, you lose so many of your rights in terms of comments and appeals and making the case that much better. Please don't forget that the PMCPA will always anonymize you. They'll redact your name for absolutely everything. So you have nothing to lose in making sure that your details are only known to the PMCPA. Secondly, please be clear about what you are alleging. Sometimes, we hear allegations that can be quite vague, like this claim is vague. It would be far better if you said something like, this claim is ambiguous, and so a reader might think this product is licensed for Y when it is not. So that's what I mean. Number 3, allege the clauses you want addressed. I don't mean the actual clause numbers, but for example, don't just say this post was seen by the public. Say something like this post promoted a prescription-only medicine to the public and raised unfounded hopes of success with them, because that makes it a little bit more crystal clear. Number 4, provide evidence and specific details. So my example here is don't just say something like, I heard at a meeting last week. Say something like, at a meeting on this date, at this venue, this named speaker mentioned A, B, and C to the audience. Because again, it gives the company a chance to investigate fully. Number 5, provide context if that is necessary or useful. So for example, if you're alleging something that you know your colleague had an issue with, it might be worth mentioning that this isn't the first time this issue's been observed, and this named colleague a few months ago on this particular date also observed the same practices. So that's all very good in terms of building up the weight of evidence in your favour.